What's up, guys? I'm back. Hopefully this time for good, and I won't be taking a long break like I did since I made my last video. It's been like a year since I made my last predictions. I don't even remember what UFC it was, but here I am. I'm gonna try to at the very least, do every single pay-per-view event. But I'm actually gonna try to do all of them. And this time I'll just handpick the fights that I want to talk about. I won't just focus on either the entire main card or the prelims like I used to. I will say though, before I make my video, my Instagram has got a lot better. I'll leave it in the description. It's the MMA Sensei, and I basically pick the entire card, top to bottom. I'll post my predictions and then I'll post the results, so you can always compare what I say versus what happened. But I'll be making videos now to kind of break that down and get into details of, my reasoning behind my picks, right? So here we go with UFC 283. It's an amazing event. It's in Brazil. And well, let's get to it. So the first fight, the main event, you got Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill. Glover Teixeira, he's a legend, a guy that it's 43 years old. He became champion when he was just about a couple of years ago when he beat Blachowicz. When was it? October 2021. So I picked Blachowicz to win that one. I remember that. And then on his last fight against Jiri Prochaska, what an amazing fight. If you haven't seen that fight, I recommend go watch it, because one of the best light heavyweight fights that I've seen ever. It was a fight of the night where, it's hard. It was so good and so back and forth that it's kind of hard for me to say. Normally, I like saying who I gave the round to, but that particular fight was just all over the place. It's like both of them had their moments every single round. Even the last round, round 5, where it kind of looked like Teixeira was about to win. I just don't know how Prochaska ends up taking his back and submits him. But amazing fight. I think I had Teixeira up on the scorecards, or maybe even, but it doesn't matter because Prochaska submitted him. This was supposed to be the rematch between them, and I think Prochaska got injured. He pulled out. He vacated the belt, and now we have Jamal Hill versus Teixeira. Hill is coming from putting a beating on Thiago Santos on his last fight. Before that, he destroyed Johnny Walker. Like, if you want to see a funny knockout, go watch Hill versus Johnny Walker. And before that, he destroyed Jimmy Crute. But the fight between Thiago Santos and Hill, it wasn't really like a steamroll. Like Hill didn't really go out there and destroy Thiago Santos per se. But eventually he got I thought it was very competitive for at least a half of the fight, maybe like the first 2 rounds. Then you can kind of tell that Hill was starting to, gain the upper hand. But for this one, I gotta go with the younger, bigger guy in Jamal Hill. I just think he's gonna catch Teixeira. That's the thing. If you watch all of Teixeira's fights, even the ones that he has won, even the ones like against Thiago Santos and the one against Prochaska, and even Blachowicz, he gets tagged. He always gets hit. It's not like he's a guy that is, elusive or whatnot. And it's not like he has an iron chin. Like, he gets tagged and he gets wobbled. And again, if you even watch his last fights, even the ones he won, you'll see what I'm saying. So, and he's fighting a guy in Hill that's his specialty, knocking people out. So if Teixeira wants to win this fight, this is one of those fights that is very obvious what Teixeira's going to have to do. There's no way the game plan is going to be to go there and trade punches with Hill. If he wants to win, he's going to have to use his grappling, like he did against Blachowicz, like he did against Thiago Santos, like he was trying to do against Jiri Prochaska. Hill is going to be more than aware for that. And I'm one of the ones that I believe in teams preparing the fighter for what the other guy brings. And in my opinion, Hill is going to be very well prepared to, you know, stop whatever grappling Teixeira brings and get the knockout. And also age, Teixeira is one of those guys that has shown that, usually I talk about guys once they hit late 30s, things start to really slow down. They're not going to be any better than they were last time. Teixeira seems to be the exception to that rule. This guy's it doesn't look like he's slowing down. We haven't seen that. He still goes all rounds. He still brings it. But still, at some point, age catches up. He's 43 now. See, I don't believe we're gonna see a better version of Teixeira that we have seen. So, I'm picking Jamal Hill. The only thing that I'm struggling with is deciding what round. It could easily be a quick first round knockout, or Teixeira could make it hard for him with his grappling. And I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with TKO round 2. Hill becomes the new light heavyweight champ. After that, we have, I think for the first time ever, 2 guys that are going to fight for the 4th time. I think it's the 4th time. Let's see, Figueiredo. Yeah, we have I can't even call it a rubber match. I don't know. It's just fight number 4 between Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. Every single one of these fights, I think except the second one where Moreno dominated Figueiredo, has been extremely competitive. The first one was a draw. The second one was the only one where Moreno, I think, really dominated. But then the third one was extremely competitive. An amazing fight as well. And on his last fight, because Moreno's last fight is actually Kai Kara-France, he put on a beating on Kai Kara-France. I saw an improvement. I saw a better version of Brandon Moreno than what we saw on his 3rd fight against Figueiredo. And that's the thing, again, age is going to be see, Brandon Moreno is 29 years old versus, I think, Figueiredo is 35. That last fight against, I don't know what happened there. That last fight against Kai Kara-France, he won that fight with a liver kick where he just dropped Kara-France. I think Kara-France throughout the whole fight, there was only one time where Kara-France kind of had his moment. But overall, it was a dominant win he got the finish, but in my opinion, Moreno was winning the entire fight. The pressure, that just ridiculous nonstop pressure that Moreno has. And Figueiredo's last fight is fight number 3 versus Moreno, where it was a very competitive fight. Even though Figueiredo won, you can't sit here and say that, he clearly dominated that fight. No, I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round, and then I can see the 5th round going to Figueiredo. But again, I think Figueiredo has peaked as far as his skills, 35 years old. And I think we could see an even better version of Brandon Moreno. So I'm picking Brandon Moreno by decision. I think it's probably going to look somewhat similar to fight number 3, except Moreno will be a little bit better than what he was back then. And I think it's going to show. So Moreno by decision. So I got Jamal Hill by TKO round 2, Moreno by decision. Then Gilbert Burns versus Magny. Gilbert Burns is coming from losing to Khamzat Chimaev. One of those fights that I always talk about you got the fans saying, it was a robbery. And, I've talked about this in my videos before. It seems like whenever it's a fight is close and it could have gone either way, people call it a robbery. And I'm like, just because it didn't go the way you think it did. In my opinion, for a fight to be a robbery, 2 rounds have to be clear for one guy and they still give it to the other guy. That's when I'm like, okay, that's a robbery. But if one of them is competitive and it just didn't give it to the one you think, that doesn't mean it was a robbery. But anyways, Khamzat versus Burns, round 1 was Khamzat. There's no way you can give round 1. If you go watch that fight, It was a 10-9 Chimaev, round one. Round two, other way around, 10-9 Burns. And round three was competitive enough where I can see the argument for both of them getting them. They both landed shots, they both did pressure. But I think in the statistics, Chimaev outlanded him. So I don't think it was a robbery. I actually agree with the decision. So the decision 29-28 Chimaev. But still, it showed the level, right? Because Chimaev had destroyed every single person up until that point. And Burns was the first one to actually, make a fight out of it, where some people think Burns should have won. And then he's fighting Neil Magny, where I saw his last fight versus David Rodriguez, and I'm just not impressed. Even though he won by submission round three, Rodriguez was actually landing shots, hurting him, and putting pressure on Magny. And I don't think Rodriguez has anything that Burns has. So I'm picking Gilbert Burns by, I'm going to call it a TKO. No, I'm going to go by decision as well. I think he will put a lot of pressure and get a very solid decision. Maybe a TKO if he connects it, but I'm going to go with decision by Burns. And then Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker. Paul Craig last fight versus Volkan Ozdemir. Nothing special about him. I think he's an opportunistic guy where his takedowns are not really amazing. He doesn't just go there and take people down. He's one of those guys that has tricky ways of submitting people. He lost to Volkan, couldn't take him down, and I think he lost the stand-up. And now he's going to fight a guy, then Johnny Walker. Kind of like Hill and Teixeira, where Johnny Walker should be more than aware of what Paul Craig is going to want to do here. So, and I think he's going to be well prepared to stop the takedown. I'm picking Johnny Walker by TKO round one. Again, but this is one of those where I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Craig wins by submission because he has that skill. But I don't think he has the takedowns to complement his submission skills. So Johnny Walker TKO round one. And then I want to talk about, this is my underdog for the night. I got Munir Lazzez winning by TKO against Bonfim. Munir Lazzez is an amazing striker. If you watch he lost to Warley Alves, sure. But if you look at the one before against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, and his last one against NG Lusa, that guy is an amazing striker. And I think his striking is infinite times superior to Gabriel Bonfim. I didn't know who the guy was. I saw his last fight in the Contender Series, and I don't think he has anything going for him. I don't understand how Lazzez is the underdog. Maybe there's something I don't know, but just based on skills that I've seen, you got to go with Munir Lazzez by... I'm going to go with the TKO round two on this one as well. So that's it, guys. I have Jamal Hill by knockout round two, but it could very easily be round one. I have Brandon Moreno by decision. So Jamal Hill TKO round two, Brandon Moreno by decision. I have Gilbert Burns by decision, but it could also be a TKO round two or three. I have Johnny Walker by knockout round one, and Munir Lazzez as my underdog for the night by TKO round two. And again, guys, the entire card I will post it on Instagram where you can see. There won't be a breakdown, but you will see all my picks. So guys, happy 2023.